0003 CEST, September 10th, 2025. Before anyone in Poland hears the word scramble, the night is already burning hundreds of kilometers to the east. Russia has loosed another massive mixed-wave strike on Ukraine. Cruise missiles framed with flocks of low, noisy Shahed-type drones meant to soak up interceptors, map radar gaps, and terrorize civilians. Ukrainian air defense lights the sky from Lviv to Lutsk. Fragments rain down, sirens roll, and Telegram fills with contrails and fireballs. This is the background hum of the war now, until a few of those cheap drones stop being Ukraine's problem and become NATO's. As the Russian wave presses west, about 19 objects peel into Polish airspace along multiple axes. The call signs in Poland change tone. This is not a drill. 2342, September 9th, 2025. At Poznan Krzyżany, a pair of Royal Netherlands Air Force F-35A Lightnings sit at QRA readiness, canopies reflecting sodium lights and a long night coming. Polish controllers report slow, low RCS tracks skimming in from the Belarus border during Russia's broader attack. The first NOTAMs hit. Warsaw Chopin and MADL announce temporary closures. Rzeszów-Jasionka and Lublin follow. Better to pause civilian flows than roll the dice under a swarm. In parallel, NATO's airborne picture hardens. Polish F-16s check in. A NATO AWACS starts pushing the common operating picture. Ground-based air defenses are told to hold their fire unless deconflicted. The net gets busy fast. Calm voices, short words. 2358. Engines. The Dutch jets roll. Gear snaps up, and the F-35s knuckle into the night. Inside the helmet, the outside world becomes a data layer. A PG-81 radar nets faint specks. EOTS dots glow against cold fields. Link 16/MADL fuse Polish and NATO sensors into one snake of tracks sliding westward. The task is not glamorous air-to-air. No contrails, no afterburning targets. Just 5th-gen eyes against low, wandering profiles designed to be as annoying as possible. Somewhere below, foam, plywood, and a lawnmower engine are about to test Alliance reaction times. Poland has already labeled the incursion what it is: deliberate. Tonight is the first time in this war NATO aircraft are cleared to fire in defense of NATO airspace. Nobody says those exact words on the radio, but everyone hears them. 00:07. Picture clean west. Hot east controllers carve the sky into lanes. Polish F-16 shepherds the southern routes. The Dutch Lightnings take central corridors with altitude in hand. Other Allied fighters slide into catchnet orbits. Roll rides with geometry. Steer intercepts over empty ground. Verify with 2 sensors. Coordinate with ground defenses, and keep civilian corridors sterile. The drone wave is slow but sneaky, and every intercept is a choreography problem. Fighters, SAMs, and closed airports stepping around each other in the dark. 0022. First firm contact. A ragged altitude, walking speed, tiny radar cross-section. The F-35's fusion engine takes a jitter of noise and turns it into a real thing with a label and a vector. AWACS concurs. Polish air defense holds. Somewhere in that triangle, pilot, controller, sensor net, a decision settles. Cleared to engage. The Lightning slides, nose low, as if plucking a thread from black cloth. Poland later calls the night unprecedented. The word fits. 0033. One breath, one squeeze. Down below, a white pulse in a farm field. Then falling sparks and silence. Splash. No celebration, just the next checklist. The wingman noses toward a sister track. In the backfield, airline crews sit patient on ramps, looking at clocks and weather and phones, waiting for space to reopen. This is modern air defense math at 0-100. 7- and 8-figure jets hunting 4-figure airframes, because letting any one through could be a catastrophe. It's expensive. It's also necessary. Tonight, it's the only tool that can reach a plastic intruder in seconds and kill it cleanly over empty fields. The conveyor belt phase. Tracks appear, are assigned, and go quiet. Some drones crash on their own. Some are intercepted. Some are forced down by the mere presence of fighters pushing them off sensible courses. Polish police and firefighters tramp into two villages before dawn, where debris punches roofs and litters yards. Mercifully, no fatalities. Airspace managers cycle closures. Controllers unstack holding patterns with surgeons' hands. To the public, it looks chaotic, but inside the net, the rhythm settles into predict, then pounce. By sunrise, the scope is empty. The alliance has done what it exists to do: defend Allied territory. 6:45. Engines wind down. The jets taxi in. Crew chiefs swarm. Debrief rooms grow hot with details. ROE callouts, sensor timelines, a near bust with weather, a ground radar that needed a kick, and a reminder to refresh a tactic that worked too well to be luck. No one paints anything on a jet that morning. That comes later, after the paperwork, after the press conferences, after the questions from people who slept through the whole thing. By midday, Warsaw's message is blunt. 19 Russian drones violated Polish airspace during Russia's large strike on Ukraine. Poland, with Allied fighter support, shot down those that posed a threat. Prime Minister Donald Tusk calls it a large-scale provocation and moves to invoke Article 4, formal Allied consultations, because the implications are bigger than a few holes in roofs. NATO's Secretary General says it out loud. Russian drones violated Polish airspace. Defenses were activated. Allied territory was defended. Airports reopen. The questions begin. A few days later, the Dutch Ministry of Defense posts a photo. An RNLAF F-35A from 313 Squadron, taxiing in Poland with a small white silhouette under the canopy rail, a drone kill marking. The caption makes it plain. Dutch F-35s opened fire that night and shot down drones over Poland. For aviation diehards, it's a neat piece of history, the first confirmed combat kill mark on a Dutch Lightning II, and, by every reasonable accounting, NATO's first shootdown of Russian aircraft. Unmanned, yes, but Russian, inside Alliance airspace since 2022. For the crews, it's just a quiet nod to a job done right. This wasn't a single leaker. It was part of Russia's war by erosion. Flood the region with expendable drones during a major strike on Ukraine. Accept that most will be shot. Count the ones that map seams or cause expensive, disruptive reactions. Close 4 airports for a few hours, and you've created headlines and costs without firing a missile. Force 5th-gen fighters to spend cycles on ultra-cheap targets, and you've widened the cost asymmetry. But deterrence cuts both ways. NATO showed it can fuse sensors in real time, deconflict missiles and fighters in crowded airspace, and shoot discriminately when an object crosses the line. After the incident, the Alliance quietly thickened the Eastern Shield with more aircraft on orbit and a tighter radar/command net. Message received. Drones like these don't offer classic fighter pictures. They loiter at a few hundred feet, speed somewhere between tractor and fast bicycle, and present RCS returns that can drown in ground plunder. That's where the F-35's bag of tricks mattered. AESA radar modes for small, slow movers. IR search to cross-check a tiny hotspot, and fusion that lets the pilot think about geometry instead of switchology. Add a disciplined ROE ladder and an AWACS/CAOC deconfliction stack, and you get what happened over Poland. Clean intercepts over empty ground, 0 blue on blue, 0 civilian casualties from the shootdowns. Polish statements later confirmed debris damage to at least 1 home. The point is that air policing under real pressure worked. Poland didn't just scramble jets, it went to Brussels with Article 4 in hand. And that's a signal, serious enough to convene allies, not escalatory enough to trigger collective defense language. NATO's line hardened in the days after, warning Moscow against escalatory actions and backing Poland's right to shoot threats in its airspace. It sounds procedural. It isn't. This is how you write red lines without shouting. And the money question. Yes, it's ugly economics to chase a $10,000 one-way drone with jets that cost what a city block does. But protecting civilians at 1 o'clock isn't an Excel exercise. In the near term, 5th-gen aircraft are the reliable catchnet over densely populated terrain at night. The medium-term fix is obvious and underway. Denser sensor grids, cheaper interceptors, directed energy, smart jamming, and automated queuing so that fighters only launch when truly necessary. Europe is already moving. tightening counter-UAS around airports and critical infrastructure in response to a wider pattern of drone incursions across the continent. Here is what will get written on a whiteboard so the next crew doesn't have to learn it the hard way. The tempo is the weapon. Russia doesn't need each drone to hit, only enough to force reactions. Expect swarms during Ukrainian strike nights, then spillover probes toward NATO airspace. Build muscle memory for those hours. The stack must be rehearsed. Fighters, GBAD, AWACS, and civil aviation need a common playbook for small, slow movers. Wednesday night proved the choreography works. Keep rehearsing it until it's boring. Messaging matters. A drone silhouette under a canopy rail is more than a trophy. It tells Moscow the alliance is not just watching, it's willing to act, under control, inside its own airspace. The Dutch didn't just fly CAP, they fired, and then they owned it publicly. Article 4 is a lever. Use it. Not every violation is an Article 5 moment. Most aren't. But formal consultations force clarity and commitments. Poland pulled that lever immediately, and NATO's political and military posture along the eastern flank tightened in response. On the ramp in Poland, the F-35 with the fresh stencil looks the same as yesterday to anyone who doesn't know where to look. The paint is small on purpose. It's not a flex, it's a filing note the size of a postcard. A Russian drone crossed a line. A Dutch pilot, inside a Polish sky, made the decision and took the shot. An alliance stood up in the dark and did its job. The next night is quieter. That's not an accident. That's deterrence doing what it's supposed to do. And when the map flickers again, another wave against Ukraine, another ragged knot of tracks near Brest, the playbook is ready. Engines, taxi, merge the picture, 2-sensor ID, clean shot geometry, cleared to engage. A white flash over a field. Airports reopening with the sun. A tiny silhouette under a canopy rail that says everything without a press conference.